Hello, friends. You're watching The Night Watchman, where every day you'll hear a brand new horror story that will send chills down your spine. But to keep bringing you these terrifying tales, we need your love and support. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's begin the story. I never imagined my life would narrow down to sweeping aisles of discount toys and refilling shelves of laundry detergent at 1 in the morning. But after everything collapsed last year, my marriage, my job, and whatever confidence I had left, working nights at the Dollar Tree on Pine Ridge Road in Hillsford, Pennsylvania, felt like the only steady thing I had. Before all this, I'd spent 7 years as an office assistant for a heating and cooling company. I knew every customer by voice. I knew which technicians had messy handwriting and which ones flirted with every client. I knew the rhythm of the office so well that I never imagined being anywhere else. Then winter hit. The company downsized. My department went first. I remember the day my supervisor said, "I'm really sorry, Anna." And that was it. After that, things spiraled fast. My ex-husband, Evan, had already moved out months earlier. Our marriage had cracked long before my job. My savings dried faster than I expected. So when I saw the night shift needed paper taped to the Dollar Tree door, I walked inside without thinking. I told myself it would be temporary, 3 months to regroup, maybe 6. But 8 months later, there I was, memorizing the flicker pattern of the faulty aisle light and knowing exactly when the freezer hummed louder, like the store itself was sighing. Most nights were predictable, almost comforting. At 11:15 p.m., I restocked the candy aisle. At 11:45, I brewed the last pot of coffee for late-night regulars. By 12:30, the store became so quiet I could hear the soft tick of the time clock near the break room. Outside, the parking lot stretched into an empty bowl of cracked pavement. Just one street lamp worked, always flickering, always threatening to go dark, but never quite doing it. It was a Tuesday just after 12:55 a.m. I was wiping the counter, trying to stay awake, while an oldies radio station played a slow, fading recording of Elvis. The front door chimed. A man stepped inside. He was older, maybe late 60s, short and thin, with neat white hair combed back like a school teacher from the 1940s. He wore clean, pressed clothes, gray slacks, a pale green button-up, and brown Oxfords that looked broken in but polished. He carried nothing, not even keys, just a single dollar bill folded neatly between his fingers. "Evening," I said, offering a polite smile. His eyes, calm, steady hazel, lifted to mine. "Evening," he echoed softly. He walked the aisles slowly, like he was memorizing each shelf. When he finally returned, he placed a roll of butterscotch candies and a small bottle of water on the counter. I scanned them. "Quiet night for you?" I asked, trying to be friendly. He watched me unblinking. "Quiet," he said, "can be deceptive." My smile faltered a little. "I guess so." When I handed him his change, his hand didn't move to take it. Instead, his fingers shot forward and closed around my wrist. Not rough, not painful, but unnervingly precise, like a doctor checking a pulse. His breath smelled faintly of mint and something colder, like wet stone. "Be careful, Anna," he whispered. My heart stopped. I hadn't told him my name. There's something walking around this town after midnight, something that looks for people who think they're alone. I stared at him, stunned. What do you mean?" His eyes softened with something like sadness. "There is always a hunter in the quiet." Then he released my wrist, took his change, and walked out. I waited for the sound of a car door, an engine. Nothing. When I leaned over the counter, I saw only the empty parking lot and the flickering street lamp. For the next couple of nights, I convinced myself he was just lonely or strange. Lots of odd people came through Dollar Tree. You learned not to overthink it. Still, I double-checked the locks more often. Still, I avoided looking too long at the darkness outside. It was a rainy night, the kind of thin drizzle that coated the windows in streaks. I was closing the side door at 12:57 a.m. when I saw headlights sweep across the front windows. A dark SUV slowed in front of the store, but didn't park. It idled for a second, then rolled away. My stomach knotted. Something about the way it moved felt off. I shook it off and went back to counting the till. At exactly 1:06 a.m., The power flickered. Just once. Just long enough for the lights to dim. Then the front door chimed. My head snapped up. A man stepped inside, tall, heavy build, wearing a black rain jacket with the hood up. His face was hidden in the shadow of the hood. He moved straight toward the register, and before I could speak, he slammed a hand on the counter. "Open it," he barked. I froze. Sir? He leaned in, and for the first time I saw his other hand, a gun, small and black, tucked against his jacket. I said, "Open it." My hands shook so badly I could barely get the drawer open. I pushed the bills toward him. He grabbed them, stuffing them into his jacket. Then he said it, too calm, like he'd practiced it. "Safe. It's on a timer," I whispered. "I can't open it." He stared at me for a long second, then hissed a curse, turned, and bolted out the door. A few seconds later, tires screeched. I hit the silent alarm with shaking fingers. Officer Hale and Officer Torres took my statement. We gathered in the back office around the old monitor to watch the footage. The hooded man was grainy, but visible. But what made my chest tighten wasn't him. It was the SUV. When the hooded man ran back toward it, the interior dome light flicked on for 1 second, just long enough to show the driver. Short white hair, pressed button-up shirt, hazel eyes reflecting the camera's glare. My breath left my body. "That's him," I blurted. "The man from Tuesday. The one who warned me." Both officers exchanged glances. Hale asked, "Do you know him?" "No," I said. "He knew my name, though. And he grabbed my wrist. And he said," my voice broke, "he said something hunts in quiet places." Officer Torres's eyebrows rose slightly, but neither dismissed me. They took screenshots of the footage, forwarded it to the state police, and put out alerts to nearby towns. "We found something you need to know," she said. My stomach tightened. "What?" "A black SUV matching the model you described was found burned out on a rural service road outside Kingsford Woods. Looks recent." My hands went cold. "And," she continued, "a shoe print in the mud outside the driver's door matches the one lifted from your store." For the first time, fear crawled under my skin in a way I couldn't explain. This wasn't just a robbery. It wasn't random. Something bigger was happening. Detective Cross called again. "We located a campsite deep in the woods." "What kind of campsite?" I asked. "The kind that's been used for a while," she replied. My voice shook. "Is the old man? Was he there?" "He wasn't," Cross said, "but 2 other men were, both with records in Maryland and Virginia. Both armed." My breath hitched. "And the third? The driver?" Cross exhaled. "We found signs someone stayed there who was older. Personal effects, clothing, a cot, footprints, but he was gone. Gone. Like he'd vanished into the woods. They searched for hours. They brought dogs. They combed through ravines and logging roads. Nothing. What they did find were boxes of stolen cigarettes, small bags of stolen merchandise from different stores along the interstate, and one metal coffee can full of burned scraps, paper, coins, the remains of what looked like ID cards." Cross said quietly, "This wasn't their first robbery. I kept working nights because corporate insisted 2 employees were enough security. Deep down, I knew I shouldn't have gone back." Sleep came in fragments. Every shadow in the store felt deeper. Then Thursday came. I was stocking the freezer, the cold air numbing my fingers, when I heard it. A soft knock. Not on the door, not on the windows, on the stockroom wall, coming from the outside. 3 knocks. Slow, measured. I froze. "Anna!" My whole body went cold. It was a whisper, a man's whisper, right outside the thin metal wall. "Anna." Quiet is deceptive. I backed away, heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. "Who's there?" I forced out. The answer crawled under my skin. "You saw what you weren't meant to see." I grabbed my phone, dialing 911 with shaking hands. But when police arrived, the outside wall showed nothing. No footprints, no tire tracks, no sign anyone had been there. We found another fire pit, older this time, a mile deeper in the woods. "What? What did you find?" I whispered. "A wallet," she said, "belonging to a convenience store clerk who vanished in New York 2 years ago. I pressed a hand to my forehead. So he killed him? We aren't sure, Cross said, but the pattern suggests your older suspect may have been involved in more than robberies. Is he still out there? I whispered. A pause. Yes, and we think he's watching the stores he's hit. My blood froze. He knows the routines, she added. He knows who works when, and he knows you saw him. Corporate now requires 3 night employees, but the store feels emptier than ever. Every sound echoes. Every shadow stretches too far. Some nights, when I'm cleaning the counter around 12:55 a.m., I swear I see a figure standing just beyond the glow of the street lamp. Short, thin, white hair, hands folded politely in front of him, watching, waiting. And sometimes after closing, when the lot is dead silent and the hum of the freezers is the only sound left in the world, I hear his voice, soft, calm. There is always a hunter in the quiet, and I wonder what he really meant. That there is always a hunter, or that there is more than one. Story 2. I was 21, the first winter I worked the overnight shift at the Dollar Tree on Crescent Street in Elmridge, Colorado. It wasn't what I pictured for myself at that age. Not after a year and a half of trying and failing to keep up with community college deadlines, 2 part-time jobs, and my dad's medical appointments. Life, I'd learned, didn't care if you had dreams. It cared if you had rent money. My mom kept telling me it was temporary. Just until things settle, she'd say while she rinsed dishes with her sleeves rolled up past her elbows. But nothing had been settling for the last 4 years. Not since my dad's stroke. He could walk again, sort of, but he couldn't work construction anymore. His hands used to build houses. Now they shook trying to hold a coffee mug. So I picked up whatever shifts I could. The Dollar Tree wasn't glamorous, but it was steady and quiet. Too quiet sometimes. When I clocked in at 10:58 p.m., the wind outside was howling hard enough to rattle the front windows. February in Elmridge wasn't kind. Thin ice crusted on every street sign. The parking lot was almost empty, just a pickup truck idling under a flickering lamp and a stray shopping cart drifting like it had somewhere to be. My manager, Marla Hensley, stood behind the counter with a half-empty mug of peppermint tea. Her frizzy hair was tied up in a loose bun, and she had that pinched look she got when the late shift was running on fumes. "You're a lifesaver, Sam," she said as I walked in. "I know picking up an extra Sunday shift sucks." "It's fine," I said, clocking in. "Mom needed the car for Monday morning anyway." Marla gave me a sympathetic smile. "How's your dad doing?" "About the same," I shrugged. "He's starting physical therapy again next week." "That's good," she said softly. "Tell him I said hi, okay?" I nodded, grabbing the inventory scanner. The store felt colder than usual, the kind of cold that gets into your bones. Our overnight crew was just 3 tonight. Me, Riley, the college freshman who lived off energy drinks and sarcasm, and Joanne, a 60-something widow who worked nights because she couldn't sleep alone anymore. We were finishing a pallet of cleaning supplies when Riley nudged me with his elbow. "Dude," he whispered, "stop for a sec. You hear that?" I paused. The hum of the coolers, the distant whine of the heating system struggling, the faint buzz of the overhead fluorescents, but nothing else. "No," I said. He frowned. "Weird. Thought I heard something, like someone walking in the seasonal aisle." "It's probably the ventilation," I said, "or Joanne rearranging those Valentine bears again." But Joanne was still by the register, humming along to an old country song on the radio. Riley shrugged it off and went back to work. I didn't think anything of it. Not yet. The store closed at 12 a.m. sharp. The last customer, a woman with a cart full of plastic storage bins, left right on time. Marla locked the doors and pulled the gate halfway down. "All right," she said, stretching her back. "I'm heading home. You kids know the drill." "Copy," Riley said with a mock salute. "Don't forget the end caps," she added. "Corporate wants photos this week." "You got it," I said. She smiled tiredly, grabbed her purse, and left through the front. The store fell into that strange late-night silence, the kind that feels too big, like the aisles stretch longer after midnight. Riley jumped onto the counter and sat cross-legged. "So," he said, "want to bet how long before I lose my mind tonight?" Joanne chuckled. Oh, hush. This place isn't that bad. You say that, Riley replied, but I swear half the time this store sounds off. Joanne gave him a look. It's an old building. Old buildings make noise. Tell that to the thing in aisle 6, he muttered. I rolled my eyes. There's no thing. He opened his mouth to argue but froze. We all heard it this time. A slow, deliberate footstep, then another, and another. From aisle 6. Joanne straightened. Marla locked the doors? Yeah, I said, throat dry. She did. Riley hopped off the counter. Okay, so who the hell is in here? We moved cautiously toward the aisles. Hello? Joanne called out. Store's closed. You need assistance? No answer, only the faint creak of a shelf settling. I motioned Riley to stay back and walked ahead. Aisle 6 was dark. One of the motion lights must have burned out again. My boots felt too loud against the tile. I turned the corner. Nothing. No one. Just rows of paper plates and balloons swaying slightly like they'd been disturbed. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. It's empty, I said. Probably the HVAC kicking. A balloon string brushed my arm. I jerked back. Riley exhaled sharply. Dude, you scared the hell out of... Then the PA system crackled. A burst of static. A second of silence. Then a voice, low, rough, male. Turn around. My skin crawled. Joanne gasped, covering her mouth. Riley whispered, Tell me that was you screwing with us. It wasn't, I said, heart hammering. The PA only works from the office. Joanne's voice trembled. We're not alone. We regrouped near the front where the emergency lights gave everything that greenish tint. What do we do? Riley whispered. I swallowed hard. Check the office. The cameras will show who's here. Joanne rubbed her arms. I'll stay by the door. If someone tries coming out... No, I said firmly. We stick together. Riley nodded. Yeah, classic horror setup otherwise. We moved as one, down the center aisle, past cheap toys and plastic hangers and rows of canned soup. Every shadow looked wrong now. Too long. Too still. When we reached the office, the door was slightly open. That door was never open. I pushed it gently. The monitors flickered, static rolling across each screen. The keyboard lay on the floor. The swivel chair spun slowly like someone had left in a hurry. A sharp metallic smell hit my nose. Not blood, gun oil. My stomach clenched. Riley pointed. Dude, look. A single line of text blinked across the main monitor. Hello, Sam. My throat tightened. What the hell? Riley whispered. Joanne stepped back. Why would it say your name? I don't know. That voice, she said. You recognize it? Before I could answer, the PA crackled again. Don't be shy. We froze. Then heavy, deliberate footsteps echoed from the stockroom at the back of the building. Riley whispered, We need to get out, now. We backed toward the front entrance. Joanne reached for the latches. They're jammed, she said, voice breaking. They won't move. They're magnetic, I said. They shouldn't jam. The footsteps grew louder, closer. We turned toward the back of the store, just as the stockroom doors swung open. A tall man stepped out. Black hoodie, work boots, gloves, his face hidden under a brim cap. But I knew him. Even before he lifted his head, I knew. My stomach dropped. Marcus Holdren, my older cousin, the one my family never talked about, the one who'd robbed 3 hardware stores around northern Colorado before disappearing in 1999. My mom always said he was dead. My dad always changed the subject. But I remembered him. I remembered the long drives to his mom's house. I remembered him giving me my first pocket knife when I was 9. I remembered the look in his eyes, shifty, restless, dangerous. He walked toward us slowly, head tilted like he was examining a puzzle. Sam, he said, voice low and even. Been a long time, Riley whispered. You know him? He's my cousin, I murmured. I thought he was... Marcus smiled thinly. Dead? Yeah, that rumor helped me out more than once. Joanne stepped in front of me instinctively. We don't want trouble. Oh, I'm sure you don't, Marcus replied, taking another step. But you saw the cameras. Can't have that. His gloved hand tapped the side of a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. Riley swallowed. Look, man, whatever you want, take it. Just let us go. Marcus chuckled. Kid, I'm not here for a register. I've got bigger plans tonight. He pointed at me. And I need his help. My blood ran cold. Why me? He tilted his head. Because you owe me, little man. Owe you? My voice cracked. I was a kid when you disappeared. And I kept your name out of a police report once, he said. Your dad, too. You think I forgot that? I felt dizzy. What? What do you want? He lifted the bag and unzipped it slowly. Inside, rolls of wires, duct tape, a black pistol, and 2 small canisters marked CSGAS. My heart stopped. Marcus, I whispered, you can't. Oh, but I can, he said calmly, and you're going to help me get into the safe. Corporate schedules deposits on Mondays. Tonight's Sunday. You guys should have at least $8 grand in that box. We don't, I lied. He lifted the gun. Try again. Riley stepped forward. Listen, man, you don't have to do this. We're not. Marcus swung the gun toward him. Quiet. Riley froze. Joanne whispered, Sam, do something. But my body wouldn't move. Marcus walked slowly toward us, gun steady. Then, a loud crash from aisle 9. Marcus spun around. What was that? Another crash. Shelves rattled violently. Marcus hissed. Who else is here? Nobody, I said. It's just the heaters. He grabbed me by the collar and shoved the gun under my jaw. Don't lie to me, Riley suddenly yelled. Run! He grabbed Joanne's wrist and bolted toward the emergency exit near the toy aisle. Marcus spun, fired. The bullet tore through a row of plastic wiffle ball bats, sending shards across the floor. I dove behind a display of storage bins as Marcus fired again. Sam, he shouted, get back here! Riley reached the emergency door and slammed the bar. The alarm wailed, but the door didn't open, frozen shut from the outside. Marcus laughed darkly. You're all locked in with me. This is my store now. I crawled between aisles, heart pounding. Riley and Joanne ducked behind the card section. Marcus moved methodically, clearing aisles one by one. Come on, Sammy, he sang quietly. I don't want to hurt you. I spotted the stockroom door. If I could reach it, there was a back exit. Maybe the ice hadn't jammed that one. I waited until Marcus moved toward the freezers. Then I sprinted. My footsteps slammed against the tile. Marcus shouted, Sam! A gunshot cracked behind me. I burst into the stockroom. Cold air, stacked pallets, the back exit in sight. I grabbed the bar and shoved. It opened. I stumbled into the freezing alley, breath turning to mist. Riley and Joanne were right behind me. From inside the store, Marcus screamed in fury. I slammed the metal door shut and jammed a broom handle through the latch. Call 911, Joanne sobbed. Riley fumbled with his phone, hands shaking. I backed away from the door, staring at the thin sheet of metal separating us from Marcus. Sirens wailed in the distance. Fast. Marcus pounded once on the door, twice, then nothing. The police arrived in minutes, but when they entered the store, Marcus was gone. No footprints in the snow, no forced exit, no broken windows. Just a black baseball cap left in aisle 6. Hours later, after statements and paperwork and shock blankets, a detective approached me. Sam, he said quietly, we ran fingerprints off that cap. I braced myself. They match a suspect wanted for multiple armed robberies from '99. He paused. And he's your cousin. I nodded weakly. I know. We'll issue a federal warrant, he said, but men like him don't stay in one place. I stared at the darkened store. The green exit signs glowed faintly through the windows. I don't think he's gone, I whispered. The detective frowned. Why do you say that? I swallowed hard. Because Marcus doesn't run away from unfinished business. It's been 8 months. I quit the Dollar Tree. But sometimes when I drive past Crescent Street late at night, I see someone standing near the cart corral. Tall, still, watching. And when I blink, he's gone. But I know he's out there. And I know one day he'll come back for what he thinks I owe him. Story 3. I never thought my life would narrow down to sweeping floors under buzzing fluorescent lights at 2 in the morning, but that's exactly where I ended up the fall I turned 24. My name is Evan Carter, and back in 2011, everything in my life felt like it was breaking apart at the seams. When my dad got laid off from the paper mill in Granton, Pennsylvania, we were already behind on rent. By August, he was picking up odd jobs, roof patching, junk hauling, anything that would keep us afloat. My mom was working third shift at a nursing home, exhausted every hour she wasn't asleep. I dropped out of community college after the second semester because the car needed a new transmission, and we couldn't afford both that and tuition. So when I saw a now hiring night shift stalker sign taped to the dirty glass door of the Dollar Tree on Crestline Boulevard, it felt like my best option. It paid barely above minimum wage, but it was steady, predictable, quiet. That's what I told myself anyway. The first few weeks weren't bad. Nights were slow. The store smelled like plastic and citrus cleaner. Most of my shift was just me, a pallet jack, and the hum of the old freezers. The only people I saw after midnight were Dana, my manager, middle-aged, sarcastic, coffee addict, and sometimes Officer Ramirez from GPD, who swung by for an energy drink on slow nights. But something changed the first week of November, and I still don't know how I didn't see the warning signs sooner. It started around 1:20 a.m. I was in the back room breaking down cardboard when I heard the chime of the front door. I froze. No one ever came in that late. No one. We locked the doors at midnight, but sometimes Dana forgot before she left for the night. "Hello?" I called out. Silence. I stepped out cautiously, box cutter still in my hand. Every aisle was quiet. The only sound was the drone of the lights overhead. Then I heard it, the unmistakable shuffle of shoes on tile, coming from the clearance aisle, the one near the seasonal section. "Hey, sir," I said, walking slowly. "We're actually closed. Do you need help finding—" I turned the corner. Nobody. Just a few leftover Halloween decorations and bins of cheap toys. But one thing stood out. A single item lay in the middle of the aisle, a small red flashlight, the same kind we sold in packs of 3. I hadn't put it there. I picked it up and set it back on the hook. "Probably fell," I muttered, but the hair on my arms wouldn't lie flat. I locked the doors after that, yet every few minutes I kept glancing toward the clearance aisle, half expecting someone to step out. 2 nights later, it happened again. Same time, same aisle. I was stocking canned beans when the intercom made a static pop, like someone had pressed the talk button. Then a voice, whispery, too soft to make out words, but definitely there. My whole body went cold. "Dana," I whispered to myself, knowing she sometimes used the intercom when she came back for paperwork. I hurried to the front. "You here?" No answer. I stepped behind the counter and checked the office. Empty. The intercom handset was still resting in its cradle. "Okay," I whispered, breath shaky. "Maybe it shorted." But the air suddenly felt colder. I walked toward the clearance aisle, every step louder than the last. As soon as I turned the corner, I froze. The red flashlight was back on the floor, right in the middle of the aisle. I felt my throat tighten. I hadn't touched it since the first night. My phone buzzed in my pocket so suddenly I jumped. It was a text from Dana. "You okay? Alarm panel says back door opened?" My blood ran cold. I hadn't gone near the back door. I ran to it immediately and found it cracked open an inch. The metal bar lock was still engaged, pushed outward like someone had tried forcing it open. I slammed it shut, locked it, and shoved a metal crate in front of it. My hands wouldn't stop shaking the rest of the night. I almost didn't go in the next shift. But bills didn't care about chills down my spine. This time I walked in with a plan, music in my earbuds, lights all on, and a promise to myself to avoid the clearance aisle completely. It worked until 2 a.m. I was stocking paper goods when someone knocked on the front door, 3 sharp taps against the glass. I whipped around. A man stood outside, tall, thin, wearing a dark jacket and jeans. His face was obscured by the glare of the lights, but he stood perfectly still, not shivering, not moving, just staring. I walked toward the door slowly. "Sorry, sir, we're closed." He didn't respond. I stopped a few feet away. Do you need help? He lifted something, pressed it against the glass. My stomach dropped. It was the red flashlight, the same one from the aisle. Where'd you get that? I asked, voice cracking. No answer. He tapped it once against the window. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, rhythmic, like he was making sure I heard. I'm calling the cops, I said. He lowered the flashlight just out of view but didn't move. I backed away and grabbed the store phone. Granton Police, what's your emergency? Officer Ramirez, it's Evan from Dollar Tree. There's a guy outside, won't respond, has something of ours. Just get someone fast, please. We're nearby, he said. Stay away from the doors. I hung up and crouched behind the counter. It couldn't have been 2 minutes when red and blue lights flashed across the store. I peeked over. The man was gone. Ramirez came inside, hand on his holster. You all right? Where'd he go? I pointed. He was right there. Tall guy. Had this dollar store flashlight. Ramirez checked outside and walked the lot. Nothing. He came back in, rubbing his jaw. Probably someone passing through. But if it happens again, call immediately, lock the doors, keep the lights bright. I nodded, but deep down, I knew it wasn't someone passing through. Because the flashlight wasn't on the hook anymore. It was laying in the aisle again, waiting. I shouldn't have come back. But quitting meant letting my family drown in bills. It felt colder that night, even inside the store. At 12:45 a.m., the phone rang. Not the store phone, my cell. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Silence. Then, very faintly, the sound of the Dollar Tree intercom beeping. My chest tightened painfully. Who is this? A whisper slipped through the receiver. Aisle 9. My heart stopped. Aisle 9 was the clearance aisle. I dropped my phone like it was burning hot. The store was silent except for my ragged breathing. I forced myself toward aisle 9 because not knowing was worse than knowing. Halfway there, a soft clatter echoed. I flinched. When I turned the corner, every flashlight on the peg, cheap plastic ones, different colors, were scattered across the floor. My legs nearly buckled. Okay, I whispered. Nope, nope, I'm done. I turned to leave, and there he was, the man in the dark jacket, standing at the end of the aisle, inside the store. How did you get in? I whispered. He didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink, just stood like a shadow carved into the linoleum. I backed away. Sir, you can't be in here. He lifted his arm, holding the red flashlight. He clicked it on once. Off, on, off. A pattern, one I didn't understand but instinctively feared. My voice cracked. Look, just tell me what you want. He didn't answer, but he stepped forward, silent, too silent. I turned and ran. I didn't think. I just sprinted for the office, slammed the door, locked it, and shoved a chair under the handle. My hand scrambled across the desk for something, anything, and found the old phone. I dialed 911. Somebody's in the store, I shouted. He followed me inside. Please, please. The operator told me officers were on the way. I pressed myself against the far wall, chest shaking. Then the lights in the office flickered. Once, twice, then went out. The only light came from under the door, the dim green glow of the exit sign outside. I could see a shadow move past the door, slow, dragging, deliberate. I covered my mouth. The handle rattled softly, then stopped. Footsteps moved away. Then, boom, boom, boom! The office door shook violently. I screamed. The pounding stopped just as suddenly as it began. Then silence. Long, terrible silence. I didn't realize I was crying until the lights of a police cruiser flashed across the office window. I didn't leave until I heard Officer Ramirez shout, Evan! It's safe. Come out. They swept the store with 2 additional officers. They found nothing. No footprints on the waxed floor, no signs of forced entry, no broken windows. But they did find something in aisle 9. The red flashlight, standing upright on its end, like someone had carefully placed it there. Ramirez put a hand on my shoulder. You're not staying for the rest of your shift. Go home. We'll talk tomorrow. I quit the next morning. I didn't even go back for my last paycheck. I thought it was over. until last Thursday. I stopped at a gas station after my new job at a warehouse. As I walked back to my car, I felt something crunch under my shoe. I looked down. A red Dollar Tree flashlight, the exact cheap model, the exact same look. My stomach felt like ice water. Someone had placed it right behind my driver's side tire. I looked around the lot. Empty. Quiet. Too quiet. I grabbed the flashlight with shaking hands and tossed it into the trash. I drove home fast, checking my mirror the whole way. And now, even as I write this, I keep hearing tapping at my window. Slow, rhythmic, like someone holding a little red flashlight, waiting for me to look. Story 4. I never planned on ending up stocking shelves at a Dollar Tree on Ridgeline Avenue in Brookshore, Pennsylvania. If you had asked me 2 years ago what my life would look like at 22, I would have said something about finishing my HVAC certification, maybe getting a steady job at a repair company, maybe even moving out of my mom's apartment for the first time. But last September, everything veered off course when my older brother, Mateo, got into a motorcycle accident that kept him in rehabilitation for months. Mom was already juggling 2 part-time jobs, a cafeteria server and a home care aide, and the medical bills hit us like a tidal wave. So I dropped out of classes to help cover everything. After weeks of searching, the only steady paycheck I found came from the graveyard shift at the Dollar Tree about 7 blocks from our building. It wasn't glamorous. Half the lights flickered. The stock room smelled like dust and old cardboard, and the heating unit worked only when it felt like being generous. But it was work, and work meant rent, medication, groceries. The night shift also meant isolation. By 1 a.m., Brookshore went quiet, the shops shuttered, the street lights buzzing like they were burning themselves out. Sometimes the only footsteps you heard were raccoons climbing in the dumpsters behind the hardware store. I'd sweep the aisles, break down boxes, and ring up occasional customers who wandered in for snacks or batteries at odd hours. But most nights I survived on my phone. Instagram, TikTok, and dating apps I barely took seriously. That's how I met Camilla. It was a windy Tuesday night in early February. The store felt colder than usual, like the air conditioning was fighting a ghost, and I was on my 12:50 a.m. lunch break. I sat behind the counter scrolling, chewing on a discount granola bar, when a follow request popped up. Camilla.r, 4,900 followers. Her picture made me freeze mid-bite. Olive skin, long dark hair, sharp brown eyes, the kind that looked like they were studying you, even through a screen. She had this half smile, just enough confidence to make you wonder what she was thinking. I hesitated. Fake accounts were common, but her page looked real. 2 years of posts, different outfits, different seasons, different places around the city. Her comments looked authentic too. Mostly, except almost every comment came from men. Older men, some definitely pushing 40 or 50. Still, I followed her back. Within seconds, my phone buzzed. Camilla. Hey, you live near Brookshore, right? I blinked. I hadn't put my neighborhood on Instagram. Me. Yeah. How'd you know? Camilla. Saw your profile through Tinder. You look familiar. Me. Oh, right. Yeah, makes sense. She asked about my job. I kept things simple. Night shift at Dollar Tree. Nothing exciting. She sent a laughing emoji, then a selfie, taken just seconds earlier. Like and comment. I did. Just a quick thumbs up. Then I noticed something strange. A man, definitely in his 40s, wrote, "How old are you?" Camilla replied, 18. But 10 minutes earlier, she told me she was 22. My stomach tightened. I told myself it was a typo. People lie about age online all the time. But something felt off. The more I scrolled through her page, the more cracks I found. No tagged friends, no family photos, no group shots, nothing that grounded her in real life. Just her, always posed, always perfect. Still, loneliness does stupid things, and she kept talking, asking questions, sending pictures. It felt nice being noticed, for once. Around 1:40 a.m., she asked, "Camilla, what are you doing after work?" I typed before thinking. "Heading home. Mom's at my aunt's place tonight." Her reply came fast. "Camilla, so you'll be alone?" I swallowed. Yeah, Camilla. Maybe I should come over. A warm rush shot through my chest and then panic. Should I? Shouldn't I? She asked for my address, just to see how far it is. I hesitated. Then stupidly, I sent it. A full minute passed. Then, Camilla. Only 12 minutes away. Cool, Camilla. I'll come after you get home. That's when she asked again how old I was. I repeated, 22. She wrote, same, but she had told me 18 an hour earlier. My fingers hovered over the screen. Something wasn't right. I told her a customer came in and put my phone down. 10 minutes later, 3 new accounts messaged me, all with under 40 followers, all with profile pictures that looked like they came from Google Images. Account 1, unblock Camilla. Account 2, why did you do that? Account 3, you made a mistake. My hands trembled as I blocked everything. That's when it hit me. I'd sent my address. I finished my shift at 2:45 a.m. and rushed home. The February wind cut through my hoodie like knives. The streets were silent, almost too silent. Inside the apartment, I locked the door, then locked it again. I checked the windows twice. The kitchen one, the one above the fire escape, wasn't latched. I swore I'd closed it earlier. I shoved it down, locked it tight, and tried to calm myself. I turned on the TV, letting the voices drown my thoughts. Eventually, exhaustion pulled at me like gravity. Around 4 a.m., I drifted off. A sound woke me. Soft, a shuffle, a slow drag across the floorboards. My heart thudded like it was trying to escape my chest. The radiator clicked. But this was different, heavier, closer. I sat up. My eyes adjusted slowly to the dim orange glow from the street lamp filtering through the blinds. Something was standing near my closet. A shape, too tall, too still. For a second, my brain fought to rationalize it. My hoodie on the chair? A pile of laundry? Then it moved, just enough for the light to catch a face. Pale, expressionless. Then a smile. Wide, unnatural. Like someone stretching skin too far over their teeth. I choked on my breath. My legs moved before my mind did. I bolted, barefoot, sprinting through the living room, grabbing nothing but my phone. I flung the door open and ran into the freezing hallway, pounded on my neighbor's door, again, until he yanked it open, startled. Elias, what the hell? There's someone in my apartment, I gasped. Please call 911. The police arrived within minutes. 2 officers, Davis and Herrera, searched every inch of the apartment while I waited in the hallway with my neighbor. After what felt like an hour, Officer Davis returned. Sir, the apartment's empty. No, I insisted. My voice shook. Someone was standing in my room. He exchanged a look with Herrera. The doors were locked. Windows, too, except one. My blood ran cold. The kitchen window? Herrera nodded. Looks like it wasn't latched all the way. Could have blown open a little with the wind. It wasn't the wind, I whispered. Herrera softened his voice. When you wake suddenly, sometimes the brain fills in shapes. Sleep paralysis episodes can feel extremely real. But I shook my head. I saw him. He smiled. People don't hallucinate smiles that detailed. The officers didn't argue. They suggested I stay with a neighbor until morning. I did. I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I checked my phone. Camilla's account, gone. Deleted or renamed or abandoned. Every message thread, every picture, every comment, all gone. A week passed. I avoided social media, avoided dating apps, tried to convince myself it had all been some long, awful nightmare. Then during another night shift, my manager, Rosa, asked quietly as she stocked a candy near me, Everything okay with you, mijo? You look tired. I swallowed. Just rough nights. Before she could reply, my phone buzzed. A notification, an unknown number. No profile picture, no name, only a message. Nice place. Next time, don't lock the window. My breath stopped. My hands went cold. And below that, a photo, a picture taken from inside my bedroom, of my bed, my blankets messy, the way I'd left them that night. I dropped the phone. It clattered on the linoleum. Rosa rushed over. What happened? I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. I quit Dollar Tree that same night. We moved apartments a month later, and I have never, not once, put my real address anywhere online again. Story 5. I never planned on working the night shift at the Dollar Tree on Clover Ridge Road in Brenton, North Carolina. If anyone had asked me a few years back where I thought I'd be at 24, I would have said something ridiculous like finishing my portfolio in some open concept office in Atlanta, maybe sipping a caramel latte while pretending I understood typography better than I actually did. But life isn't polite enough to follow the outline we give it. When my dad died from a sudden cardiac arrest in 2022, my mom fell apart in a way I didn't expect. She'd always been the strong one, loud, stubborn, able to talk a telemarketer out of their own sales pitch. But losing him hollowed her out. Panic attacks, insomnia, job loss. And then the medical bills came like waves too tall to climb. So I left school, packed up my little apartment in Greensboro, moved back home, and got whatever job would hire me fast. Dollar Tree hired me in a day. Nights were easier for me, fewer people, fewer eyes on me, less pretending that I was okay. Most shifts, it was just me and the assistant manager, Mark, a 29-year-old who loved two things: energy drinks and pretending he was too busy to do anything. I didn't mind. The quiet suited me, especially on nights when we closed at 9 and cleaned until 1. But the night everything shifted, the night everything began, was a Thursday in early November. It was chilly outside, the kind of cold that smells like winter is sitting right behind the tree line, waiting for permission. I was restocking a bin of cheap holiday tinsel when Mark walked by, waving his phone dramatically. Yo, Mia, he called. Corporate wants new end caps by tomorrow morning. I'm putting you on toys. I snorted. Yeah, okay. I'll get right on that while you pretend to handle inventory. Mark smirked, lifting his can of Monster like a toast. As long as you're aware of the system. Despite everything, he always got a laugh out of me. I checked my phone a bit later, bad habit from working alone so much, and saw a DM notification on Instagram. The account name was unfamiliar. Perfect Moments _archive. No profile picture, no posts, just the message. Thought you'd want to see this. Normally, I wouldn't even open something like that. Creepy DMs come with the territory of being a woman online. But boredom makes you stupid. I tapped it. A link opened to another Instagram profile. No bio, no followers, no following, just a grid of pictures. And for a second, I wasn't sure what I was looking at. At first glance, they looked like candid street photos. Girls sitting at bus stops, girls walking into diners, girls tying their shoes in parking lots, girls standing in checkout lines. But none of them were posed. None of them seemed aware they were being photographed. My chest tightened as I scrolled faster. Even the angles made me uneasy. Through windows, from across streets, behind objects, through fences. Always far enough to avoid detection, but close enough to capture faces. They didn't feel like creepy pictures. They felt like surveillance. I swallowed hard and texted my best friend Riley, who lived one town over. Me. Do people still run creepy fake accounts? Look at this. Riley. Mia, this is weird. They're so young. Report it. Me. Already did. I put my phone away, trying not to overthink it. The fluorescent lights hummed too loudly. The store felt too quiet. Around 11:30, I took my break in the stockroom. I'd barely opened my water bottle when my phone buzzed again. It was Riley. Riley. Wait. Why is there a picture of you on this account? My heart stuttered. Me. What are you talking about? No, there isn't. Riley. Scroll to the bottom, I swear. Bottom row. My hands shook as I tapped the profile again. I scrolled past strangers, row after row, and then, there it was, a photo of me closing the Dollar Tree 2 nights earlier. I was locking the side door, head down, unaware. The angle was slanted, like someone took it from inside a car across the lot. I froze, breath stuck in my chest. Then Riley texted again. Riley, it gets worse. Scroll up. I didn't want to, but I did. The newest upload, posted less than 10 minutes earlier, was me again. Tonight. standing behind the store on my break, leaning against the loading dock railing, sipping from my water bottle. The picture was taken from behind the chain-link fence only a few feet away. My vision blurred. My ears rang. Someone had been outside, watching me. Close. Too close. I remembered hearing a crunch earlier, like leaves. I hadn't thought anything of it. Now my entire body felt cold. I didn't think. I just dialed Riley, my voice trembling as soon as she picked up. Riley, someone was here, behind the store, like feet away from me. Her voice sharpened instantly. Call Mark. Call the cops. Call somebody. Mia, this isn't a joke. I don't know if I'm overreacting. No, listen to me. Someone is taking pictures of you without you knowing. That is not a prank. I slammed my water bottle down and pushed open the stockroom door so fast it smacked the wall. Mark looked up from his phone in surprise. Whoa, what's up with you? We need to check the back lot, I blurted, grabbing the flashlight near the lockers. Mark blinked. Why? I could barely speak. Someone was out there, taking pictures of me. That shook him. Mark wasn't the bravest guy, but he wasn't heartless either. He grabbed a box cutter and followed me through the back hallway. We pushed open the rear door and stepped onto the cracked pavement behind the store. Cold night air hit my burning face. Everything was still. Too still. Mark scanned the lot with the flashlight. You sure you weren't imagining? Mark, look! The chain-link fence had a fresh gap in it. A clean, snipped opening about 2 feet wide. Not old, not rusted. Cut recently. He whispered, Jesus. And then we both heard it. A soft shuffle. From the tree line beyond the fence. Mark raised the flashlight, his voice low. Who's there? Silence. Then, a sharp metallic click, like a camera shutter. My blood ran cold. Mark grabbed my sleeve. We're going inside. Now. We didn't run. Running felt like it would trigger something worse. We backed into the store, locked the door, locked the second door, then hurried to the front where the big glass entrance was at least visible from the road. Mark grabbed his phone. I'm calling the cops. But before he could dial, my phone buzzed. A new DM. My throat closed. The sender was the same burner account, but this time it didn't send a link. It sent a video. I clicked it. My stomach dropped. It was footage of me, tonight, walking from my car to the store at 8:57 p.m. The angle was tight, close, as if the camera was right behind me. Then the video tilted down, showing a pair of black boots, standing only a few feet from me. Riley's voice echoed in my head. Call somebody. Mark stared at my face. What is it? What did they send? I couldn't speak. I just handed him the phone. He watched. His expression collapsed. Okay. Nope. We're calling everyone. He dialed 911, stumbling through what he saw. The dispatcher said an officer was on the way. But while he was on the call, something moved outside. We both saw it. A figure, slender, hooded, standing at the edge of the parking lot near the far lamppost. Watching the store. Not approaching, not leaving, just watching. Mark went pale. They're right there. The figure raised a hand, not waving, holding something. A phone. Pointed at us, taking pictures. I felt dizzy. My skin buzzed. My vision blurred. I couldn't breathe. The figure took one slow step closer, then another. Mark yelled, Hey! Police are on the way! The figure stopped, then silently turned and slipped into the dark between the trees. By the time the police arrived, the figure was long gone. They took my statement, asked questions, walked the property, looked at the fence. They found boot prints leading toward the woods, but nothing else. The officer, Sergeant Hughes, sighed as he closed his notebook. Mia, whoever this is, they've been watching you for a while. These kinds of accounts don't pop up overnight. My stomach churned. Why me? His eyes were sad. People like this don't need a reason. They patrolled the area for an hour but found nothing. When I finally got home, exhausted and shaking, I checked my phone. The account was gone, deleted, vanished. But that didn't comfort me, because the last picture they posted, the one taken behind the fence, had been captioned with a number, 1,200. Like I was worth a price. Like I was merchandise. I quit Dollar Tree the next day. I've been sleeping with my curtains closed and two locks on my door ever since. Even now, every time I hear something outside, I freeze, because the Instagram account might be gone. But whoever took those photos, they never were. Story 6, I never pictured myself working the night shift at the Dollar Tree on West Meridian Street in Brookville, Ohio. If life had gone the way I planned, I'd be sketching album covers for indie bands in Chicago or Seattle by now. Maybe even running my own small art studio. Instead, I was 28, making $14 an hour, scanning items under flickering lights that buzz like dying insects. When I moved back home after finishing my associate degree in graphic design, I told myself it was temporary, 6 months max. My mom had gotten sick, and my kid brother needed help with bills. 6 months turned into 4 years. Hospital debt stacks fast, and grief slows everything else down. After my mom died, I stayed in Brookville because it felt wrong to leave my brother, even after he got his own job at the tire shop. Dollar Tree wasn't glamorous, but it was familiar. I knew which shelves bowed under weight, which aisles smelled like plastic no matter how often we mopped, and which customers would argue over a single dollar. I knew the old AC unit rattled every time the wind got too cold, and I knew that our parking lot light, just one, had been burned out for months. Most nights were quiet, too quiet, but quiet meant safe. That changed the night Mason walked in. It was a Wednesday evening in late October, warm enough that the front door stayed open, but cold enough that the breeze carried the bite of Ohio rain. I was training a new hire, a nervous 19-year-old named Danny, showing her how to close out the register. "You'll get used to the beeping," I said, tapping a key. "First week, it sounds like a torture device. After that, silence feels wrong." She laughed softly. "It's my first real job. I'm scared I'll mess something up." "You won't," I said. "Just don't let anyone hand you a $100 bill at 9:59 p.m. That's the worst thing a human being can do." She smiled. It felt good teaching somebody something. Anything. I didn't get many moments like that these days. Then the door sensor chimed. I didn't even look up at first, just another late customer grabbing dish soap. But Danny's smile faded. She whispered, Do you know that guy?" I turned. A man had stepped inside. Tall, thin, not built like someone malnourished, but like someone who forgot food was a thing. He wore a charcoal gray coat that looked too heavy for the weather. His hair was blonde but dusty, almost washed out. And his eyes looked colorless, like someone had dimmed the saturation. He didn't take a basket. He didn't browse. He walked straight toward the art supplies aisle. Something about the way he moved, slow, gliding almost, made the hairs on my arms rise. "Stay here," I told Danny, "but I'll handle him." I walked toward the aisle, pretending to straighten a row of index cards. He stood at the shelf of sketchbooks, running a finger down the spines without touching any of them. "You looking for something specific?" I asked. His voice was low, steady. "A blank book, one without lines, something that won't complain when I fill it." I gave a small laugh. "They're all blank sketchbooks. None of them complain, I promise." He finally looked at me. "I've seen your work." My blood went cold. "My work?" "The mural behind the abandoned laundromat on Perry Street," he said. "The one with the warped faces. You signed it JD at the bottom. My initials, my style, my secret late-night escape. I hadn't told anyone I painted that, not even my brother." "I didn't think anyone noticed that," I said quietly. "I notice everything," he murmured. There was no smile, no attempt at friendliness, just a statement, like a fact carved in stone. He picked up a sketchbook, black cover, thick paper, and brought it to the register. Danny stepped aside nervously. He slid a $10 bill across the counter. As I gave him change, he asked, "Do you still draw? Or did life crush that part of you already?" The bluntness hit harder than it should have. "I still draw good," he said. "It would be a waste if you stopped. People who see the world the way you do don't last long if they keep their art inside." Before I could respond, he tapped the sketchbook. "For you." He turned and walked toward the door. Sir, I called out. You forgot he didn't stop. He didn't look back. He just walked out into the dark parking lot and disappeared. I stared at the sketchbook on the counter. He's creepy, Danny whispered. He's, I swallowed. He's something. That night after closing, I opened the sketchbook in the break room. On the first page was a message in thin, uneven handwriting. Your art deserves teeth. Don't be afraid. I'll find you soon. My pulse hammered so loudly I felt it in my throat. I slammed the book shut. I tried to shake it off. Maybe he'd written it earlier, planning to buy the sketchbook for someone else. Maybe he'd assumed some random artist would find it. But deep down, I knew better. When I got home, I threw the sketchbook in a drawer under old bills. Then I grabbed my phone. A new message request blinked on my screen from an account named M_null. Blank profile. No posts, no followers. You opened the book. I dropped the phone. After minutes of pacing, I finally typed, "Who are you?" His reply came instantly. "Someone who wants to commission you. Name your price." I stared at the screen. A commission meant rent, groceries, breathing room. But everything in me screamed, "Don't do it." Still, I typed, $100? "Don't insult yourself," he replied. "I'll transfer $1,500. Draw me something about faith. Not the religious kind. The kind people cling to when they're desperate to keep their minds from breaking." A chill slid down my spine. Before I could respond, a PayPal notification appeared. $1,500 received. I wanted to refuse, but the money was already there, and I needed it, so I drew. For 3 nights after my shift, I sketched a figure kneeling, head split open like a cracked egg, a swarm of small hands clawing out of it. Something symbolic of belief eating itself. I sent it. His response came seconds later. "Perfect. You understand suffering better than I hoped." A week passed. I kept working, pretending nothing was wrong, but every customer who lingered too long made me tense. Every shadow in the aisle looked like his coat. Then one night at 1:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. A disappearing photo. I stared at it for a long time before tapping. It was a deer skull. Real. Fresh. Antlers sawed at strange angles. Teeth painted black. The bone was carved with symbols. Circles, slashes, geometric shapes I didn't recognize. Something was lodged inside the skull's cavity. Dark, wet fabric. I gagged and closed the photo. His message followed. "I make art too." "We're not so different." I typed back, hands shaking. "Don't send me things like that. Please. Do you want to see the next one?" "No, you should. You'll understand why you're special. Stop messaging me." No reply. 2 days later, during my shift, my manager, Mrs. Daly, pulled me aside. "Jace, did you say anything weird to a customer last week? Some tall blonde guy? He filed a complaint." My stomach turned to ice. "What kind of complaint?" "He said you were following him around the store, watching him." "What? He was acting weird. I was just checking." She sighed. "Look, I don't know, but he mentioned your name specifically. Said you made him uncomfortable." "He knows my name?" She nodded. "He gave a description of you. Exact. Even your tattoo. Maybe he's just unstable. But be careful. Don't engage." I almost told her everything. The messages, the skull photo, the commission. But something stopped me, because telling someone made it real. That night on my doorstep sat a small cardboard box. No return address. I froze. I didn't want to open it, but leaving it untouched felt worse. My hands trembled as I lifted the flap. Inside was a sketchbook, the same brand from the store. The first page had a fresh drawing, mine, one I had never drawn. It showed my apartment window, and me inside it, sleeping, underneath, in neat handwriting. We're connected now. I only take what belongs to me. I stumbled back so fast I hit the wall. My vision blurred. My chest tightened. My phone buzzed. A message from Mnull. "Do not run. I'm close." I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room with every light on, baseball bat in hand, heart beating like a trapped bird. At 3:08 a.m., the building's hallway light flickered, the way it only did when someone walked by. Soft footsteps. Then, Tap, tap, tap. Knuckles on my door. Jace, his voice calm, patient. I brought your final commission. I stepped back, choking on air. I don't want anything from you, I managed to say. You already took my money, he replied. It's only fair. I'll send it back. No, he said softly. It's not about the money. It's about finishing what you started. Silence. Then the sound of something sliding under the door. An envelope. You should look, he said. I'm calling the police, I whispered. He laughed gently. No one ever survives calling the police in stories like this. My blood froze at the choice of words. Because he didn't say movies. He said stories. Like he believed we were inside one. Then his tone shifted. Cold, reverent. You see the world the way I do. Your mind shapes things that frighten the weak. I want to preserve that. Before it fades. My throat closed. You don't own me, I whispered. You gave me your art, he murmured. Art is a doorway. I stepped through. I heard him place a hand on my door. The wood creaked under the pressure. I'll come back when you're ready, he said. And you will be. His footsteps receded down the hall. Slow, unhurried, like he wasn't leaving for good, like he had all the time in the world. I waited an hour before touching it. Inside was a single sheet of sketch paper. A drawing. Me, standing at the Dollar Tree register. Behind me, far behind, was a tall figure, half hidden in the shadows of aisle 9. Watching. The date written at the bottom was yesterday. I dropped the picture and backed away. He'd been in the store, while I was working, and I hadn't even seen him. I quit Dollar Tree the next morning. I blocked his account, changed my number, deleted my social media, moved in temporarily with my brother, who didn't ask questions because he could tell I wasn't ready to answer any. But sometimes when I walk downtown, I feel it, that prickling sensation on my neck, like someone's gaze landing lightly on my skin. Sometimes I turn, sometimes I don't. But I always think about the message he left in that first sketchbook. Your art deserves teeth. Maybe it does. Or maybe he was telling me something else. Maybe he was warning me. Teeth tear, teeth claim, teeth take, and maybe he still wants to take something. Maybe he's still waiting for the right night, the right sketch, the right moment. I pray I never find out. But deep down, I think he's already decided.